Okay, more problems from section 4.5, and this is number 37, and we want to graph cosine. I'm sorry, 4 cosine of 2 pi. So first of all, we better figure out the period. And remember, the period equals 2 pi over b. In this case, I'm sorry, that should be 2 pi x, pardon me. Yep. So period will equal 2 pi over 2 pi. So the period will just be 1. So the period is going to be 1, so that's going to be 1 radian. So I did like we did earlier. We called this pi, which is about 3.14 radians, and this is 3 radians, 2 radians, so this will be 1 radian. So I try to draw it to some kind of scale. My amplitude is going to be 4, so I'll call this 2 and this 4. So I can at least fit it on here, -2, -4. And I'm just going to be working in this one area, so I'll have to subdivide this. I'll divide this in half, so that'll be 1/2. And that'll be 1/4 and 3/4. And then we can just, again, cosine of 0 is 1, so 4 times 1 is 4. And this is going to be 0 and -4. Okay, and then back to 0, back to 4. So it's just four times, and the thing is, if you take a look at this, and if you think about this, if x is 1/4, 2 times 1/4 is 1/2, so that's pi over 2. And the cosine of pi over 2 is 0, you see. And if you put 1/2 in here, 2 times 1/2 is 1, and the cosine of 1 is -1, in this case times a -4. So it kind of works out. And if you put 3/4 in here, the same idea. Or you could just graph it by the order we talked about. 1, 0, -1, 0. There you go. So something like that. Okay? Now this is a different scale. This is pi over here. So this is kind of squinched in. I use this pi scale over here, but I use a different scale, so it's a little different. So be aware of that. So you can, they're going to have a general shape that's going to be similar. But if you fool around with the scales, you can get them all to look almost the same. Okay? So that's number 37. Okay. Number 39. This is going to be y equals, and 39 is -4 cosine of 1/2 x, -4 cosine of 1/2 x. So my period equals 2 pi divided by 1/2, all right? Or 2 pi times 2, if I invert multiply, so that's 4 pi. So period equals 4 pi. Okay? 4 pi. So I don't want to go all the way off the paper, so I can call this 4 pi. Now, once I say that that's 4 pi, this is going to be 2 pi. This should be 3 pi. And this should be 1 pi. That's 0. Kind of subdivided those. And my amplitude is 4, so I'm going to use kind of like, again, 4 and -4. And I've got my 4 subdivisions, so not too bad. And except normally it's 1. But it's going to be -4, so -4 times 1 is -4. So I'm going to go like that, and then I just go back there, up there because it's negative. Everything reverses, back there, and down there. Okay, everything reverses, and 1. These are the zeros, and I got 1. Now it becomes -4, and -1 becomes +4. There you go. Okay? So again, the thing to do is find your period. My period's 4 pi, so once I have my period, I subdivide it into 4 equal intervals, and I know my amplitude is going to be 4. And again, I put my points in. And normally, if I just look at the cosine, it would be like this. If I looked at the cosine of 1/2 x, it would look like this, down to there, back there, and up there. So I just have to reverse these, or multiply them by -4. So 1 times -4, see, because normally it would be like that, like that, like that, like that, like that. Again, follows the same pattern, except it's kind of spread out. But if you look at your 4 subdivisions, your cosine goes like that. But you just multiply by -4, 0 stays the same, 0 times -4 is 0, and -1 times -4 is +4, so it's not too bad. Okay, hope you can see how easy it is. Just have to practice it and think about those 4 subdivisions. Okay, and then one more in this assignment, I think, and this is going to be number 41. I'll write this down here. This looks a little more formidable. And that's going to be -1/2. So that's my amplitude, and it's flipped. Cosine of pi over 3 x. So I don't think I'm going to like this. I don't like thirds. It really fouls you up. So my period equals 2 pi over b. So that's 2 pi over 3. That's b. So I'll invert multiply. So that's 2 pi times 3 over pi. Oh, I guess it's not too bad. Okay, invert multiply. And the pi's cancel. And what's 2 times 3? 6. So 6 radians is my cycle, my all the way through one period. Okay, now that's not too bad, because 2 pi radians I could put over here. I could call this 2 pi, and that's the same thing as about 6.28. And this is 6, so I could call this 6, and that doesn't work too bad. Now, I divide that in half, and I pretty much eye it like that. I'm not going to measure it. Half of 6 is 3, and this would be another 1.5, and this would be 1.5. So it's by 1 1/2. 1.5, 3, add 1.5, you get 4.5, add 1.5, you get 6. So there's your 4 subdivisions. I hope they're kind of even. And there's your 2 pi. So something like that. And then we'll just... now I'm going to call this 1 because I have a half. So this would be 1, and this would be -1, and this would be 1/2 and -1/2. But I've got my 4 subdivisions here, so I can put my points in. So normally I start at 1, but this is going to be -1/2. So if I take 1 and I multiply by -1/2, I've got here -1/2. Okay. The cosine of 0 is 1, so that's -1/2, and then I just hit these spots like that, then up to 1/2, back down here to 0, and then I'm done. So there you go, just like this. There you go. So that's what you have. And you can see the amplitude is 1/2, but it's flipped. So instead of starting up here, it starts down here. And the period is 6 radians. So there's your period. Okay? I think I might have been a little bit, my scale, I wasn't really even, because I just eyeballed this. If you did it with a ruler, it'd be a little bit better. Okay, so that's number 41. So I hope that helps. Good luck.